Good evening. On behalf of the Hiatt Career Center and the Brandeis University Alumni Association, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's webinar, Building Your Professional Brand. My name is Alexandra Stephens, and I am the Associate Director of Alumni Career Programs and Engagement at the Hiatt Career Center. Now, tonight's webcast is going to be fairly interactive. We'll be asking you some polls throughout and also inviting you to submit your questions via the question box in your control panel. I'm delighted to introduce tonight's speaker to you. Her name is Pamela Weinberg, and she's a Brandeis alum, class of 1987. She is a career coach and personal branding strategist based out of New York City, and she works with clients in a variety of age groups and at a variety of career levels, from college students to women re-entering the workforce. Pamela presented a webinar for us last spring on strategies for re-entering the workforce, and we're so excited to welcome her back tonight. So, Pamela, it's great to have you here.
Welcome, Pamela. Very happy to. Okay? I'm good now.
You're good.
Okay, so thank you all for being here tonight. As I said, I'm very happy to be here with my fellow Brandeis alums. This is one of my favorite things to do, and I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to speak to you all about building your professional brands. So let's launch right in. How do you know what your professional brand is? This I thought was a very cute cartoon talking about branding, what your personal brand is, and it's the doctor saying to the patient, what makes you feel this sudden loss of identity? And he said, well, I did a Google search for my name and it was not listed anywhere, so how do I know who I am? And it's actually a really good question and point. And you don't want to be that person. So one of the first things you want to do before you start building your brand is to Google yourself. And if you have, what do you find? And is what you found the message that you want people in your industry or people who would potentially hire you? Is it what you'd want them to know about you? So it's the perfect time to launch our first poll question, which is, have you ever Googled yourself? So Alexandra, would you do that, please?
Yes, so please take a moment, just answer yes or no, really easy question. Have any of you ever Googled yourselves before? And waiting for a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results that 100% of you have Googled yourselves. So you're on the right track.
That's fantastic. Well, that's good. So hopefully you like what you found, and if you haven't liked what you found, hopefully by the end of our webinar today, we'll have some good tips to get your messages out on Google, the message that you would like people to find about you. So what is your personal brand? As of now, what your brand is, as far as the general public is concerned, is what you found on Google. So whatever comes up on Google, whether it's a political donation that you made, or you were in the newspaper for some reason, or you bought or sold a house, those are things that would come up on a Google search. What you're hoping will come up on a Google search first would be a fabulous LinkedIn profile, a personal website that you have, a link to a blog that you have, or articles that you've written. Those are all great ways to get your brand much stronger, and you want to be able to control who sees what about you. So we're going to go through a lot of those steps today in what you can do to really give yourself a better and stronger presence. So your brand defines who you are and what you stand for. Are you a physicist? Are you a technological genius? A published author? What you really want others to know about you? What are the most important things that you want to get across? So this is my little graphic of what types of language we can use to describe ourselves in a brand. So some of you might be in marketing or looking for a job in marketing. you all don't have the same qualities and qualifications. So sort of going through an exercise like this, where you really sit down and think about, what makes you different. If you're sitting next to someone else who's wants a job in marketing or works in marketing, you're both not exactly the same. What types of skills, attributes, and experience do you have that really make you unique? So we're going to launch into our next poll question now, which will help me to some degree try to tailor the presentation to the majority of the audience, if it's possible. And that question is, what is your current employment status? Because oftentimes, if we're building our brand, it's great to be able to build a brand based upon the field that we're looking to go into. Some of you may be career changers and may need to change your brand to better fit your next job. So Alexandra, can you launch the poll?
Yes, so just waiting for a couple more people to vote. So the poll,
Great.
What is your current employment status? Are you currently attending school? I know we have some students on the line today. Are you happily employed but seeking new employment, or not employed currently but actively seeking employment? And we'll give it a couple more seconds to weigh in. And we're going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. So it looks like the majority of you, nearly 80%, are currently employed but seeking a new type of employment, a new challenge. 7% of you are not currently employed but you are seeking, and 14% of you are happily employed, which shows that you really do need to still consider your brand even though you may be happily employed.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I'm really so happy that we have these results. And for those of you who are happily employed, kudos to you for wanting to continue to build your brand while at work, because I do work with a lot of clients who are happy in their careers, and it's really important to build your brand internally. We oftentimes think about, building your brand to the sort of the outside world and becoming an expert in your field, which is great as well, but it's really important to build your brand internally as well, so that your colleagues and superiors know who you are and what you're all about. So that's terrific. Thanks, Alexandra. Okay, so how can branding help your job search and or your career? Personal branding, can really help you in whatever stage of employment you're in. It really can help you differentiate yourself from others, enhance your recognition as an expert, raise your visibility, as I just said, to potential employers and also to people within your firm. And for those of you who are thinking about changing jobs, it can really help you with your job search. So your specific interests, your personality, that's all what makes you unique. And by building your brand, it helps you to broadcast that to potential employers. Creating your brand. So many factors go into creating your brand, and the first thing you really want to think about, which actually goes back to our poll of employment status, what are the goals for your brand? For those of you who are employed but seeking a job, your goals for your brand may be to get you noticed, maybe by other people within the industry, or maybe you're changing fields completely and need to build your brand, for a whole other set of potential colleagues, experts, etc. So you really want to think about what the goal is, and what would you like your clients, potential employers, colleagues to think about when they think of you. Do you want them to think of you as an expert, as a strategic marketer, a leader, a team player? Those are also things you really want to sort of put in the mix in building your brand, and make sure that you're projecting all of those traits that you find important in anything that you're putting out about yourself. You want to think about how you can really be that brand in reality. Building your brand should really be authentic. It should feel like you. It shouldn't be something that you're, sort of picking a new persona out of thin air. This should be your personal brand is your brand, and it should feel like you and sound like you. So one of the first things that I do when I work with clients, whether they are happily employed or looking for a job, is to help them develop a personal mission statement. So a personal mission statement allows you to really sit down and define and connect your unique purpose. So some of those words that we had on our word collage, some of the things I just spoke about, about your what your tone is, what really sounds like you. You want to sit down and really map that out. Who are you and what are you all about? And then you want to really articulate what you think the most important information is to disseminate about your brand. And you'll see that the word you is highlighted, because going back to our Google search, we see already what is out there about ourselves. You may be really happy with those results. You may also feel like, I don't think that there's enough about what I do, who I am, what impact I've made in my industry. So you're going to want to pull those things out and make sure in any kind of branding pieces that you write, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, a resume, a personal website, you want to make sure that you're disseminating the right information. And I'm going to give you an example of a mission statement that you can that you're going to look at, and you can hopefully take the time to write your own. So a mission statement should serve as your personal GPS for future career and life choices. Having a clear and concise mission statement really should help you put a resume together, a LinkedIn profile together. I have clients write those, and then literally we can take that paragraph from our mission statement and put it right on our professional summary in a LinkedIn profile. It really tells your story. So what should you do in putting together a mission statement? You want to keep it really simple. Mission statements should be 3 to 5 sentences long. They're not. It's not meant to be something that you labor over, because it's going to be changed. So what you want to really labor over, if it's anything, is really sort of thinking about who you are. It's really the thinking piece. And once you have that down, the mission statement should almost write itself. And once you see my example, you'll see how. So you want to describe what you want to focus on and who you want to be in this particular stage of your career. Mission statements aren't stagnant. They're meant to grow and evolve as we do. So in your mission statement, you're going to set a goal for yourself. Maybe your goal is to get a job in a new industry, and you've achieved that. You've gotten the job. So what's your next goal going to be? Maybe to get promoted, maybe to be a speaker at a professional association event. We should always be revising our mission statements to go forward in our careers. Make your mission statement positive. It should sound like you, and that goes back to what I said about being authentic. You want, your best friend or your closest colleague at work to be able to pick up your mission statement without a name on it and realize that it's yours. It should be that unique and that specific. You want to include skills and character traits and knowledge that you want to develop further. You want to use it to guide your day-to-day actions and update it regularly. I tell clients, tack it up on your computer or even on your refrigerator. Have it written in your iPhone so you can pull it out and look at it. It really helps people make decisions. If I've worked with clients that are trying to change careers, but they keep getting job offers in their previous career, previous industry, I'll have them just I say to them, look at your mission statement. What is it that you want to do? And just remember that it really helps to keep you on track and to help meet your goals. So here's a sample mission statement. A client of mine wrote this, and he is someone who was one of the people who, like some of you on the webinar, was happily employed. But he was a junior person within commercial real estate working at a big firm, and he really wanted to build his visibility in a field where there's a lot of competitors, even internal competitors. So this was his mission statement: to be known within the commercial real estate industry as an expert in tenant representation. I will do this by attending and speaking at industry conferences, writing for real estate blogs, and developing relationships with key thought leaders in the field. So what I like about his statement is that he was listing his long-term career goal. So his long-term goal was to be known as an expert in tenant representation. So some of you who are looking to change jobs, your goal may be to get a job. Maybe you're in public relations now and you want to get a job in marketing. Your long-term goal may be a new job. In this case, with this client, his long-term goal was to be an expert. So how is he going to do that? And I like the specifics that he has here. He's listing 3 very specific, tangible, easy-to-read ways that he's going to do this. He was going to attend and speak at industry conferences. He wanted to write for a real estate blog, and he was going to develop relationships with key thought leaders. And if I worked with him in the next phase of this, I would break this down even more. Which conference was he going to work at? I would actually have him pick a conference and say, okay, in the next month, I want you to go to a real estate conference, attend it, meet someone, take some notes on what you could speak on. Writing for real estate blogs, the same thing. Pick, the 10 best blogs in the real estate industry, start following them, come up with an idea of a blog post that you could have. And lastly, for developing relationships with key thought leaders, how is he going to go about doing that? And I would encourage him to start following people on Twitter who are in his field and develop relationships with them that way. And I'm going to talk about that more specifically when we get to the social media portion. So now that you have written your mission statement and you have your goals set out and you have your mission statement written and your brand set, you want to start promoting that brand. So what are some of the best ways to do that? Be an expert. Read magazines, newspapers, websites, and blogs that match your interest. And don't only read those, but you should be extremely well read. Respond to the articles as well. I've had clients, and I myself have had great relationships and experiences made by actually responding to people who've written blog posts, people who are in a field that you're interested in. It's a great way to develop relationships, and by doing so, it elevates you to another level in your own field. Create your own blog or website. No better way to get your name higher on Google than by having your own blog or website. Even if it's just a website that has, if you're looking for a job, has your resume on it, maybe some writing samples. If you are a blogger or want to write a blog, you can write your own blog post, or you can even cull other people's posts and put together. I have a colleague that put together a personal branding blog, but it wasn't original content. She really compiled all the best of other people's content for personal branding, but again, it was with her name. So anyone doing a Google search of her blog would come up, and you would know that she was a branding expert. Join professional associations. Don't just join them. Actually try to speak at them or offer to speak at them. Oftentimes, some of the big professional associations have chapters all over, like the American Marketing Association, Society of Human Resources, whatever field you're in, there's definitely a dozen or so professional associations. And oftentimes they're looking for speakers. So come up with a topic and pitch yourself. No better way to get your name out there than speaking at a professional association event. Because even if people do not come to hear it, they will be getting an email blast with your name in it. This could go out to as many as 10,000 members. So you're putting yourself in great company by having the professional association. Issue a press release to announce something about yourself or your company. doing your own personal public relations is a great way to increase your brand visibility. There are a couple of websites I want to tell you about. One is called helpareporter.com, and that is a website that you can sign up to be an expert in your field. And if someone's writing an article about marketing and you sign up as a marketing expert, they could call or email you to get a quote from you, which is great. Conversely, or additionally, you can sign up for daily alerts from the helpareporter.com website and get all the information from people writing articles, and then perhaps there's one that you feel you can contribute to, and you'll be able to just contact the reporter directly and know that they're working on something that you can help out. So that's another terrific one. There's also a pr.com, which you can upload a personal press release about yourself, and that gets disseminated to tons of different media outlets. So that's another good resource. Lastly, include a custom signature in each email that you send, and we all have some kind of signature in our emails, and oftentimes it's maybe your company website if you are employed. But if you're unemployed or you have a little freedom with your signature, try to link it to your LinkedIn profile, which is great, especially if you like your LinkedIn profile. And hopefully after tonight's webinar, you can go back and take a look and maybe make some changes. But it's a great way to really brand yourself again and have people go read what you want them to read about you. Okay, so this actually leads us into our social media portion. Perfect segue to social media. So we are going to launch our last poll, and that is, what types of social media do you currently use? And you can select all that apply: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, or you're not using social media yet. So Alexandra, you can, if you're ready to launch the poll.
Yep, we're just waiting on a few more people to respond.
Great.
Like a lot of you have the biggies under your belt, which is great. So we'll give 3 more seconds, 2 and 1, and we're going to close the poll and share the results with you. So 92% of you are on Facebook and LinkedIn, which is fantastic. 46% are on Twitter. 23% are on Google+, and none of you wanted to admit that you're not using social media yet. So it looks like a pretty good mix, but Facebook and LinkedIn definitely being in the lead.
Great. I mean, that makes perfect sense, and it's not as unsurprising. Those are definitely 2 of the most popular, with some others nipping at their heels, which we will get to. So let's talk about LinkedIn, which, of course, is the big one for anybody who's in the workplace. And your LinkedIn profile is something that, a lot of people will have a LinkedIn profile and they'll do it once and sort of, never check back with it. So your LinkedIn profile definitely does warrant some care and feeding. Because it's my business is branding and career coaching. I'm on LinkedIn multiple times a day, and I'm, looking at my profile. What can I add? What should I take away? So I think it's, something that it's worth looking at. You don't have to be obsessive about it, but just go back after tonight's presentation and see if there's anything you can tweak to make your profile that much stronger and that much more reflective of your brand. So you want to really have a descriptive profile headline. A lot of people may just have, and the default on LinkedIn is that your headline will default to what your current job is. So if you are the district manager for Reebok, it'll say, Pamela Weinberg, district manager, Reebok. So that to me really doesn't say very much about who you are. It says what you do, but not who you are. So I'm going to give you a sample, a couple of slides from now that shows a headline that I think is descriptive. But I like to sort of, cheat on this and look around, look at other people who have the job you have. What are they saying about themselves? How are they describing themselves in their headline? Because you can be more than one thing, and you can and should, in my opinion, personalize it. You want to upload an appropriate photo. You want to make sure the photo that you're using is professional. You should be using, most likely a different photo on your Facebook than you would on your LinkedIn, unless you're utilizing Facebook for business, in which case you can definitely use the same, because that's a good way to brand yourself. So you want to just make sure your photo is appropriate for your field. If you're in a creative field, you can be more creative. If you're a banker, then you want to be pretty conservative in a suit. Update your status regularly. The best way to get yourself higher on Google or more read on LinkedIn is to update your status regularly. So whether you say attending a webinar tonight for personal branding, and you make that your LinkedIn status, you link to an article that's interesting in your field that you read, you link to a piece of research that your company just put out, just be linking. Just be aware of updating your status and linking to relevant articles in your field, especially if one of the goals for your brand is to be an expert, because you want to be the person who people want to come look at your profile because they know that you're going to have the most current information on it for what's going on in your industry. You want to include a full education profile, and I don't know, many of you I'm sure have graduated already or are not in school, but even if if that's the case and you have a Brandeis education and maybe you've gone on to graduate school or taken some other certifications, people like to see that, and people love to connect, which we're going to talk about, and I think on the next slide. People love to connect with other alums. So it's great to just feature that on your LinkedIn profile, because you never know what's going to get someone to connect with you. An example of that for myself, I'm a career changer, and I wrote a book called City Baby, which I did for 15 years, which is a resource for having a baby in New York. And I changed careers, became a career coach 6 years ago. And I wanted to get to know someone who is very prominent in my field in college career counseling. And the reason why she accepted my LinkedIn invitation was because she was pregnant and was interested in my background with City Baby. So you sort of never know what someone's going to really be attracted to in your profile. So education is one of those things, or interests that are really, really important to put on. It's a great connector for people. You want to use your LinkedIn profile to share your resume if you're looking for a job, link it to your blog if you have one, any published work that you have. Certainly summarize your professional qualifications. For me, as someone who's a personal brander, this is the most important part, and that's really where your branding comes in the summary section. This is the place that you can really tell your story. Weave together your past experiences to tell others who you are and how you got there and what your interests are. This is what makes you unique, which makes you not just words on a page, makes you a real person, makes you authentic. And this is your opportunity to do that in your summary section. And it's also a place that you can add your accomplishments as well. You want to join LinkedIn groups. Groups are fantastic. It's a great way to connect with others within your industry. Terrific for networking, and even for those who are looking for jobs in a new field. When I was changing careers and became a career counselor, I wanted to learn more about the different certifications I could get, and I really didn't have a peer group at that point. So I joined a great group on LinkedIn, the Career Counselors Career Coaching Consortium, and asked a question of the group and said, I'm thinking about X and Y certification. What would you recommend and why? And people gave me great feedback. It's just a terrific way to get real strong industry information from your peers. So Brandeis has a great career connections group on LinkedIn where you can connect with other Brandeis alum, and you can also download the LinkedIn guide for Brandeis students and alumni, so to learn how to best maximize the career connections group. You want to add your keywords to fill in the skills and expertise section on your profile. You want to ask for recommendations, and the ask is typically one recommendation per job. So that's sort of a good rule of thumb. You can always get more, but it's nice to have recommendations from a former boss, or employer, manager, or client. It helps people to, really see that you are recommendable. And you want to, as a rule, send personalized invitations to connect to contacts after each meeting. Whether you get a business card from them or you just have their name and business name, you want to just make it a point to connect, to build your network. It's a great way to just write a little note. Make sure that your invitations are always personalized. Don't use the generic whatever LinkedIn has. Change it to make it your own. That's, again, a little part of branding. Have your own style when you're sending these invitations to connect as well. So as I said, I wanted to show you a sample LinkedIn profile, and you can look her up so you can see the whole thing, because her whole profile, I think, is really well done, especially her summary. I just didn't want to spend a ton of time. I wanted to spend time on LinkedIn, but if I went through her whole profile, it would probably take up the rest of our session. So go take a look when you have a chance. But I really liked her headline because it really says, what she does and what you might want to hire her for. So she is a consultant at this company, Women's Roadmap, but she's also an author and a speaker. So I like that she's doing the slashes to really show all that she can do and really brand herself. And I also like that she put her domain name in the right in her headline. I thought that was terrific. She has a nice photo that's friendly yet professional. Her head's sort of tilted to the side. I think it shows some personality, and you can see that she's someone who's a real entrepreneur. So we're going to move on to Facebook, and I know I think all of you are using Facebook and LinkedIn, which is great. I'm sure many of you are using Facebook for pleasure, for friends and all that stuff, which is great, as you should. But Facebook is another opportunity, presents another opportunity to promote your brand, especially for those of you who are perhaps unemployed and seeking employment, because it's a great way to let people know what you're interested in doing. The difference between Facebook and LinkedIn, which I really like, is that typically your contacts are totally different. Your LinkedIn contacts are very much all business, and your Facebook contacts are likely all friends. And by the term friends, I would say, use the term friends loosely, because your friend, quote unquote, could be someone who you were friends with in elementary school and haven't seen since. That person probably has no idea what your current career is or what your current aspirations are, and conversely, you don't know what theirs are either. But they could be your next boss, or they could be your next entree into the next industry you want to be into. But they wouldn't know unless you sort of put it out there on Facebook. So throw it up in your status every once in a while. Post links to your personal blogs or articles. Even link to your LinkedIn profile, so people can read about you more professionally. All the big companies have fan pages now on Facebook. Join the ones that you're interested in. Say, let's go back to my client who is in commercial real estate. He would, join the fan pages of his company and maybe some of his competitors to see what they're up to. For those of you who are looking for jobs, it's a great way to get actively involved with what's going on in the company by becoming a fan and getting on the company pages and seeing what the conversations are like. Another difference between Facebook and LinkedIn is inboxing. On Facebook, you can inbox anyone, even if you are not friends with them. On LinkedIn, that's not the case. You need to be somewhat connected to them in order to inbox them. So if there was someone that you were desperate to reach and they had a Facebook, you could always inbox them. Would they definitely answer? We don't know, but it's worth a shot. You also want to make sure to manage your privacy settings. I don't know how often we go onto our privacy settings to check, but you get these messages from Facebook saying that we've changed some settings, we've changed some things. It's a good idea, especially now that you're going to be doing this branding push, to go back onto your Facebook and just make sure that the privacy settings are what you would like them to be if you are going to be using your Facebook for business. And even if you're not using it for business, anybody who is looking to hire you is going to Google you and may very well come across your Facebook if it's not privacy protected the way you want it to be. So just be mindful. Just be mindful of that. Facebook also is in the business of helping you find jobs, and they have 2 different websites, one called inthedoor.com and one branchout.com, which helps maximize Facebook for business. And oftentimes they have job listings, and they like LinkedIn, will tell you which of your connections are connected with certain job openings and companies. So that's another good way to use Facebook for job search or for promoting your career. Twitter. So I know about half of you are currently on Twitter, and I definitely, when Twitter first came about, was reticent to use Twitter. I really didn't know what I was going to say necessarily. And what I learned about Twitter for business and for job search is that it's really more about who you follow than what you say. And I think having that mantra is a good, sort of a good thing. It sort of takes the pressure off having to come up with these really pithy, smart tweets, which some people are excellent at, by the way. So if you're one of those people, that's a great way to build your brand. If you really can come up with something very clever to say about your industry, clever comments, it's terrific. If you feel like you can't, then Twitter's great for following companies and people with whom you want to do business, following leaders in your field and retweeting their posts. I do a ton of that. I follow tons of people in career coaching, in personal branding, in university career services, and people are always posting great articles from blogs. No one can read everything, so it's great to read what other people are reading and to retweet those to your followers. So on Twitter, you want to be a provider of information about yourself, but much more about others. You really don't want to be the person on Twitter who's always talking about themselves. You want to really be an information provider. And as far as people searching for jobs on Twitter, as far as people who are looking for jobs, if you are following companies that you're interested in on Twitter and you have the opportunity to have a job interview, you are the smartest candidate in the room, because you have just read that morning that XYZ company has just gotten the patent for XYZ drug, product, technology, whatever it is. You have the up-to-the-minute information about a company by following them on Twitter, and it just makes you a very smart and very up-to-date candidate. So you can get some mileage out of your tweets. You can share them on your Facebook page, on your LinkedIn profile. If you have a personal blog or website, you can also share your Twitter feed there, so you can get more mileage out of it. You can send direct messages. I alluded to this earlier in the presentation as a way to develop relationships with experts. Sending direct messages via Twitter is a great way to do that. You're able to directly connect with people in your field by sending them a direct message, by either commenting, complimenting, adding to whatever their tweet was, their Twitter conversation. And people do often build relationships that way, and can sometimes lead to jobs. Speaking of jobs, so you can use Twitter to search for jobs. I've listed a resource here, twitjobsearch.com. Media-savvy companies looking for media-savvy employees may post their job openings only through social media, only through a Twitter or a LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you have a presence there as well. More social media for your brand. So we went through some of the biggies on our poll, and here are some of the other ones that you may or may not be using yet. Pinterest, which is 70% female users, and it's a social photo board sharing site, and it's great for people who are in creative fields. Fashion, art, even restaurants, travel. It's a great way to really show who you are. As is Instagram, which is a photo sharing app. It's sort of on the heels of Facebook. It's becoming more and more popular with teenagers, college students, adults. People love the ease of Instagram, and it's a really creative way to showcase your brand. If you are a creative person in one of the industries like fashion, like travel, anything that really lends itself to being photographed, it's a great way to build your brand. Foursquare is a location-based social networking service. Foursquare is another way to build your brand, especially if you're in a field like a public relations or media, writing for a magazine, or you're a blogger, and you want the location that you're in can really give you a certain cachet, like you're going to the hottest restaurants or the hottest clubs or a certain conference that you're attending, and you can check in on Foursquare so people can know where you are. Google Plus, which we did mention in our poll, I think only 20 or so % of you are on Google Plus. I am on Google Plus, but honestly, I haven't really figured out the best use for it yet. I do know that it is rapidly growing and rapidly becoming much more popular. So if we're not using it now, I'm sure we will be. And the circles in Google Plus, there are different circles and spheres of people with whom you can connect. And I really like the idea in theory for branding, because you really can send out certain information or present certain information to certain people. Perhaps different information that you would send to friends, that you would send to business associates or potential clients. So I do like the idea of being able to brand yourself for these individual circles, but I'll have to get back to you on what the best way to do that would be. Hopefully the next time I present, we'll have more information. So monitoring your brand. So now that you have taken the time to figure out what your brand is, write your mission statement, promote your brand, you want to monitor your brand. Is all this working? So again, we're going to go back to Google. So we're going to Google yourself, and you're going to set some Google alerts. So that if your name is mentioned, you can set a Google alert for your name, for your business name, for your blog name, as many things as you want. So, and once a day, if there's anything written about you, you will get a Google alert where your name has turned up, which is great. So then you can see if people are talking about you and where. Another way to get that information is technorati.com. You can see who's using your blog and who's searching for you. Backtype.com traces every blog that mentions you, and you can search for your name on Twitter through search.twitter.com, and you can see if you or your company name has been spoken about on Twitter. If you get really into your social media presence through your branding, you can go on to clout.com, and it might be a fun exercise if you're interested to go onto Clout right now and see what your Clout score would be, and then go on again in 6 months once you've done a branding campaign to see if you really were effective in building your brand and getting your name out there more via social media. If you are enjoying doing all of the social media and want to get on more of an organized schedule or platform, you can use something called Hootsuite, which helps you to monitor and manage all of your tweets and posts in a very organized, it looks almost like an Outlook calendar, in a very organized fashion. So you can even schedule your tweets. You can write 10 tweets and have them scheduled out throughout the day or throughout the week. So you don't have to do it every day. So the last word on personal branding, then we have some time for questions. So your brand. So we went through all of these stages today, and according to Dan Schawbel, who is actually the father of personal branding, he calls himself, he's about 28 years old, but he's written a lot of books and actually has great blogs and websites on branding, and he's on my you'll see a resources page, and he's one of the resources. So according to him, these are the 4 pillars of branding. So first, you're discovering your brand, which we talked about. That's really thinking about, that word collage. Who are you? How are you putting yourself together? How are you different? Then you're creating and communicating that brand. You're writing your mission statement, and you're getting that out to all the different media outlets. And once that's done, you need to maintain your brand. It's not enough to just, put it all out there once and hope it sticks. You want to maintain it. So that's by using a Hootsuite to do your tweets, or just making time, 15 minutes every morning to send out a tweet and check your LinkedIn profile, or even, just 1 hour once a week to do it. But set aside the time to maintain all of your social media outlets and to continue to build your brand. And it really does take some care and feeding, but not a ton. Once you get your platform set, the maintenance part is not too taxing, and you might even really begin to enjoy it. So I hope this presentation inspired you to begin or continue on your personal branding journey. Please feel free to reach out to me via email. Please connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Twitter, and please connect and keep in touch. Here are some of the resources, and I think you'll be getting the presentation, so you'll be able to have all these resources that I mentioned. Here is my contact information, my website, my Twitter, and my email. You can reach me in all those different ways. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Alexandra again. She's going to tell you a little bit more about how Brandeis can help you build your brand as well.
Thanks so much, Pamela. We really covered a lot in the last 48 minutes, and I know there's a lot more to still talk about, and we do have some questions from the group, but I just wanted to make sure that all of you have my contact information as well as the number of ways that you can follow and connect with the Hiatt Career Center through social media as well. Like Pamela mentioned, we have our Brandeis Career Connections group, which is open to all Brandeis alums and students and friends and faculty as well to network with one another. And we also have a Twitter and Facebook group as well. Pamela, if you could just switch to the next slide. I also wanted to let everyone know that as Brandeis alumni and students, you get free one-on-one career advising appointments for life with the Hiatt Career Center. So if you have any lingering questions that we don't get to tonight, please feel free to make an appointment with one of our career counselors. It could be over the phone, via Skype, or in person if you're local, and we'd be happy to talk with you. We also do webinars once a month, so please join us for our next webinar, which will be a really fun one, Careers in the Comic Book Industry. It'll be December 3rd. Lastly, like Pamela mentioned, you will be receiving a follow-up email which has a link to this recorded presentation as well as a link to all of the slides in PDF format. So you'll get additional resources in that email. But before we finish up, I would like to get to some of your questions. The first question was, what was that last site that Pamela mentioned? And that is called Hootsuite. So Hootsuite allows you to schedule tweets, monitor tweets, and it is free. It's a free account, the basic account, and we'll be sure to include a link to that in the follow-up. We had another comment come in about Google+, and one of our webinar viewers said that Google Plus is supposed to help with your searchability. So just as Pamela mentioned, LinkedIn is a great way to appear higher in Google search results. By having a public Google Plus profile as well, you will also appear higher in Google search results. And those are both ways that you can control, which is the great part. Pamela, we have a question going back to LinkedIn now about someone who's been at their job for 8 months and is up for a promotion, and they're wondering if they should ask for LinkedIn recommendations about their current role and how LinkedIn recommendations can play into your brand online.
Well, LinkedIn recommendations can definitely, play into your brand. I'm not sure how that exactly relates to the promotion within her company, but LinkedIn recommendations help give you that extra layer of validity, especially if you're getting recommended by somebody who is, senior to you, who works at a company that's known, maybe someone who's an expert in the field. So I would say, choose your recommendations well. Choose someone who is well respected and is senior enough to you that would really make a difference.
Yeah, I think to add to that too, for the person that asked this question, if you're up for a promotion and your colleagues know that you are and are behind you for that promotion, I think it's absolutely appropriate to go ahead and ask them to recommend you on LinkedIn. But what I would recommend is that you talk to them about it first and then follow up with the formal LinkedIn request. Do we have any other questions here? Anything more about LinkedIn or managing your brand? Looks like we have one coming in now. Another one of the attendees also mentioned that Google Plus is very helpful with promoting events because it links directly with your Google Calendar automatically. So that's a great.
Oh, great! That's great. Great, great ad. Great addition.
Okay, this is a great question here. So one of our listeners has a very common name. So when she Googles her name, many hits come up for her that aren't her. And so how could she help prevent confusion when people do search for her?
It's a great question, and I've actually had that question almost on every webinar I've done. Someone has that, someone asked that question because it is so difficult and frustrating if you have a common name. So, think about perhaps a middle initial, a nickname for yourself that you want to call yourself, maybe just to do something a little different in your LinkedIn profile with initials or different spelling. And if you have a blog that goes with it, make sure to have that blog name, right in the top of your LinkedIn profile as well. It's definitely it's difficult because it does happen. If your name is John Smith, there's going to be many of you.
I'd also add that pictures are worth 1,000 words. So particularly if you've met someone at a conference or in an interview or have worked with them in the past, it's really helpful for the people who are out searching for you to have a picture accompany your name. So they really can put the right face to the right name and help out that way.
That's a good addition.
Okay, so there's a question on how do I change portions of my name in LinkedIn. So Steve Smith to Steve H. Smith, for example. So how do you change the appearance of your name within your LinkedIn profile?
If you go to your LinkedIn, if you log into LinkedIn and there's a pull down for your profile, and you just go to edit, for edit profile, and you'll see a little pencil icon, and you can click on that, and it lets you edit any block of text within that area. So that's how you would change the way your name appears or change a headline.
And so, as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we do have a LinkedIn guide that the Hiatt Career Center has created specifically for Brandeis students and alumni. It's a Brandeis specific guide, and it really takes you through editing each portion of your profile, from your summary to your headline, to your experience section, and your education section. So if you have any individual questions about your LinkedIn profile as well, a Hiatt Career Counselor is able to do a LinkedIn profile review for you and go through. And so some folks are asking, where is the guide? I will post it again into our LinkedIn group as a follow-up to this event, but you'll all also receive a link to it in your email. It can also be found in the on Hiatt's alumni website at brandeis.edu/Hiatt/alumni. But all of you will receive a link to that at the end of the presentation. So last call for any questions before we finish up. All right, I think we are fresh out of questions. If you come up with any, you have my contact information, so please feel free to use it. Lastly, I would like to invite all of you to please fill out our satisfaction survey and let us know how we did and how we can do better next time. We'd love to hear from you, particularly if you have any ideas for burning topics you'd like to hear in our next webinar. But I'd like to say a special thank you to Pamela Weinberg, a fellow Brandeis alum, for taking the time tonight and teaching us about personal branding.
My pleasure. Thank you, Alexandra. It was great, and I hope you all got a lot out of it. And if you have any questions, email Alexandra. You can also email me. You'll have my contact information, and please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with my fellow Brandeisians. And thank you so much for your time.
From Brandeis University and the Hiatt Career Center, we wish you all a great night. Thanks for joining us.